So I did an outward bound trip, 10 people. I'm the only one from Colorado. Are you familiar with outward bound? Most of you? You know, it's outdoor hiking and experiential stuff with the same group of people. Mine was 10 days long. So it was day 8, so we knew each other pretty well. And we were going to climb Mount Massive. Mount Massive is the second highest peak in Colorado. I think the third largest in the United States. It was going to be a 9-hour trip. So we had to get up early. We even had those little lights. I don't know if you've ever done that before. We had to get up like 4 in the morning because you want to summit before when? Noon or 1 o'clock before the storms come, right? So you kind of have to do it by then. So you just base it on that. So here we are. We're all excited. This was like the crescendo of the 10 days. And all these other people, the other 9, weren't from Colorado, so this was bragging rights. You know, they could go home and show the picture of them on top of the mountain and all that. So we're probably about 3 hours into it. Everything's going fine. And then all of a sudden, something happened. And Valerie, one of the women, stumbled on a little boulder and fell. And, you know, a little scream came out. We all, you know, quickly went over there, and I could see in everybody's eyes 2 different things. One was, "Are you all right, Valerie?" But the other thing was, "Oh crap, we may not summit." I'm serious. That was there. It was behind the scenes. Because this was a big day. And Valerie's like a team player. "Oh, I'm fine. I'll be fine." You know, and so she gets up and she's kind of, "That's all right. Don't worry. We'll be all right." You know, and her limp gets a little better, and so we decide, okay, let's go on. So we start going on, but the problem is she started going slower and slower, and they kept developing these gaps in the line. You know, and so we had to wait and there's this one guy in the group named Jonathan who, and I'll talk about him more later, but he was struggling with this. He was very frustrated. He wanted to be the first one up there, and now the group's going half as fast. He was so frustrated he couldn't hike with us. He literally hiked parallel to us about 500 feet over. He couldn't be with us. Now the instructors normally would have said, you know, "Get your butt over here." But this was the kind of program where they were teaching us kind of how to be instructors. So they decided to let this play out. They wanted to see what would happen. So here we are going slow, and there's Jonathan over there, and of course we're talking about him. And we get about halfway up the mountain, and you could tell Valerie's foot, it's pounding a little bit. You know, it's just not good. So all of a sudden, here comes Jonathan. And you could tell he was angry, and he came over, and he's like, "I've had it. This isn't working." Like, this isn't working. And he's like, "Valerie, what do I have to do to get you to the top of the mountain?" And, you know, if she wasn't paranoid about her foot yet, now it became about Valerie's foot. So that's what the conversation was. What do we do about this? So we actually, without realizing it, sat in a semicircle, and I wrote about it. I call it conflict on the mountain. Because we were yelling, pointing fingers. It's because of this. And some people go, "Well, we should all go down together. We shouldn't continue." Other people are like, "Let's break up in 2 groups. Those that can make it and those that take Valerie down." You know, I mean, it was all of that kind of stuff. And the instructors were watching us go back and forth. Finally, the main instructor comes up to us and he goes, "You know what? Oh, and by the way, it's a little blurry, but this was the view we had because our semicircle was faced downward. So we were looking at where we had come from. Okay? And that's where all the blame and accusations came from. So the instructor comes up and he goes, "You know what? This is an important conversation to have. I want you to have it." He goes, "However, I'd like to move you over about 100 feet, if that's all right." And I remember at first kind of being annoyed because I'm like, well, "Dude, we're in the argument." You know, and so I was oblivious to why he was doing this. He never said another word, by the way. So we get up and we follow him reluctantly, and we're still arguing as we're walking. So all of a sudden he finds a spot, and we get back in the same semicircle. The only difference was that was the view. You know, it's like subliminal psychology. He goes, okay, go ahead, continue. And he walked away, and we're like, and I remember thinking, you know how it's deceptive in Colorado, like with the mountains? You think you could just jog up there and it's really 3 hours away. Well, that's what this was. But I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, we can do that. You know, it's like everybody, without actually saying it, the energy shifted. It was like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe if we do this, or what about this? Or Valerie, do you feel comfortable? I mean, the blame was gone, the finger pointing was gone, that needing to be right was gone. It was now all about rallying around how to get to the tip of that mountain. And sure enough, we came up with a plan, and we summited, I think, at 1:05, and the storm came at 1:10. Because even in the photo of us, you could see these luminous clouds right behind us. But we did it. And it was a very powerful experience. So, of course, what's the metaphor here? What am I really saying?
How you view things makes a difference.
How you view things. Your purpose is the same thing as your vision. So that you can see it, touch it, smell it, feel it. That it's got to be something that resonates so much with you that you never lose sight of it. Because when you lose sight of your vision or your purpose, what happens is the rest of the world crowds in, and the external world starts to define who you are, which is not who you are. And then we start to judge ourselves based on what's happening. And did we have a good day or not determines if we should be happy with ourselves. Really? Really? Is that how we do it? I've gotten caught in that. Oh yeah, 3 things went great today, so it was a great day. Think about those words. That doesn't define a great day. Those are 3 things that happen. Who you are is who you are, regardless of the external environment. And that's why this can be so powerful. It's your ability to see the top of the mountain, which is the same thing as your purpose.